Hello! I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, it's because you have no idea what to read for fall, and I am here to fix that for you. We're going to talk about romance books, or fallen in love as I like to call it, spooky vibes, fantasies that hit in fall, cozy vibes, and also dark academia because you cannot leave that out in fall. So this is my ultimate reading guide for fall, and I hope you enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Amber and we just talk about books. I just wanted to come and just make the craziest, most unhinged fall video ever. So this is just my ultimate fall reading guide, aka my fall recommendations and my fall TBR. So we have a cart full of vibes. We've got the cardigan, whatever the heck you want to call this, the button up. Come on. Look at that color. Isn't it so cute? The hair is dark. We are fall vibing. We've got Jack Skellington or whatever his name is up there. First of all, I just wanted a category of cozy vibes. It doesn't matter what it's about. It doesn't matter the premise or anything. It's just vibes. Okay? If you want that freaking crispy air feeling, you want to light that fall candle, these are the books for you. First of all, we have the Inheritance Games. I highly recommend this book. I read it 2 years ago, so I need a refresher. I'm about to read The Hawthorne Legacy, hopefully this month. But this is vibey. It's so vibey. It's so mysterious. It gives a dark manner. You're on the hunt. You're questioning people. It's just so good, but it's cute at the same time, and it's just so devourable. There's really no other way to describe this. Very fall vibes. Next we have Belladonna. This is a very recent read of mine, and even though it's very YA and it's not necessarily the most fantastic thing ever written, I highly recommend this mostly for the vibes, because it's pretty much Bridgerton, all that high society, all of that, except full of death as a person and as figuratively. Yeah. I have no other way to explain this. It sounds unhinged, but it's so good. And the second one just came out, and if I could get up right now, I would show you the cover, but this should be enough, honestly. It really should. So if you're interested in seeing death as a character and just this female protagonist who's just very strong-willed, but it's also set, it honestly gives Inheritance Games vibes as far as the setting goes. So if you like that, I think you would like this. Next we have Killers of a Certain Age. I could have put this in the spooky category, but honestly, it's just vibes. It's literally 4 old ladies that work in a museum, but they're assassins. Let that sink in. Can you think of little old Granny Barbara over there just killing people? So, vibes. Are they cozy? No. But are they fall vibes? Yes. Next we have Meddling Kids. It's giving Scooby-Doo. I didn't even realize it until my friend said something. But, again, vibes. I shouldn't even have to tell you anything. Basically, it's a murder mystery, but I don't know if it's going to actually be spooky, so I'm just keeping these in the fall vibes because I feel the vibes are going to be immaculate. And I have a feeling it'll probably lean on the, not necessarily lighthearted side, but I don't think it's going to get super deep and dark and scary necessarily. Next I have Such Sharp Teeth. Also haven't read this one yet. It's a werewolf rom-com. What more could you need? And I would have put it in the romance category, except it's werewolves. What else speaks fall vibes to you except werewolves? And this is one that's also kind of short. It's over 300 pages, so I guess it's not that short. It just feels short, so, take what you can get, okay? Next, I have The Naturals. I know that this is popping off right now, and I'm so excited to get into it. I've never really wanted to. It's giving FBI agents that are kids with magic, but it's not necessarily super high fantasy magic. It's pretty believable, if that makes sense, is what I've heard. So yeah, but I've heard great things, that it's really devourable Inheritance Games, and I mean, It's crime-solving magical children. What more could you want, you know? Next I have Creepy Cat. The cover speaks for itself. It's a creepy cat, and that is the epitome of fall vibes. So what more could you ever want? Next, we're getting into what I like to call fallen in love like leaves. Fallen like leaves. Also, look at my nails. Gee. They're orange, if you can tell from there. First of all, oh my gosh, this should come as no surprise. The cat and mouse duet, Haunting and Hunting Adeline. I read the first one on my Kindle. I have the second one. She's annotated. She's thick. I could knock someone out with this, including myself. Okay. I have nothing else to say except if you want a super dark romance, a very dark romance. It's like the darkest book I've read thus far, because, you know, I just dabble in it a little bit here and there. And it's very fall setting. Like, it's a little eerie, a little creepy, a little stalker, and also like a state fair, but like not in a cute way. Yeah. Just check your trigger warnings, and if you're okay with it, just read it. Like, there's a reason it's hyped, okay? Next one, we have the Mind F series. I have started this, but I'm not through it yet. I've started it, and I'm really liking it so far. It's literally giving Criminal Minds, but the female main character is a murderer, and the male main character is hunting, or whatever, investigating her. But he doesn't know it's her, and they're dating. So what more could you want than that, you know? Next we have Go Hex Yourself. First of all, look at this bookmark. Could you want anything else in life? Absolutely not. I started this yesterday. I'm like almost, not really. I'm like 120 pages in, but it's so good. If you want a little bit of a rom-com that has very like witchy vibes, but also spice, like just thrown in there here and there. Thus far, I don't know how spicy it gets, but I'm pretty sure the spice is on a decent level. So if you want that, this is the book for you. Next, I have Assistant to the Villain. This just came out like 2 weeks ago. Look at those pages. So fall. It's giving something. I just finished this yesterday or the day before, and this is quite literally just a fantasy with romance that's like a comedy. Like, just because the characters are so funny. Like, it's not even necessarily written like a comedy, if that makes sense. It's just so funny. The characters are hilarious. Their banter's hilarious. And the villain is literally like a villain. Like, he kills bad guys. He doesn't really kill like innocent ones necessarily, but he's ruthless. And all I have to say is that female main character does not disappoint. I'm rooting for her forever. Like, she's the best. I honestly think this should have went in the cozy vibes category, but we have a very secret, yes, the very secret society of irregular witches. There is a little bit of romance in here, so I probably would say this is more of just a cozy vibe. I've been told it's like House in the Cerulean Sea, except witches. Yeah, so it sounds so exciting, and I've heard great things about it. I'm excited for it. Next, we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I've heard that the female main character in this gives Lorelai Gilmore vibes, and basically she's a Murder, She Wrote kind of person, like super crime nut, and she just like is super paranoid, and I think kind of meets up with this guy and is like, oh my god, I think he might be a murderer, and it's supposed to be funny. So I have no idea other than that. I got this a year ago, and the cover is so cute, for one. Like, just take a second for it. Next, we have A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This just sounds so cute. Like, so cute. I think it'll make for a good, like, lighthearted filler book between, like, some darker stuff, but still keeping that, like, witchy vibe. I think it'd be really cute. Lastly, in the romance category, I have The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse. All I know literally is that she exed her ex. She hexed her ex. And that's all I know. It goes wrong, it goes awry, and there's these. So let's do it. Next category we have is just spooky vibes. Thrillers, murder mystery, keeping you on your toes. You're just a little spooked, you know? And that brings me to my favorite thriller author, Riley Sager. I have the first book I read by him was Survive the Night. I highly recommend that, especially if you're new to thrillers, you're not sure how you would like it. It just gives that twist that everybody talks about that they never see coming. And it also spans like a single night, like literally Survive the Night. And I don't know where my copy is. I think my boyfriend has it, but it was so good. And I think it's a great introduction to thrillers, but it just depends on like what you like. Next, I have The Only One Left. It was so good. We read this for our book club last month. Go check out that video. And it was so good. It's basically a caregiver, kind of like a nurse, kind of not. She has her own issues, but she gets a job caring for this elder woman who was accused of a Lizzie Borden when she was 17. And you just go through her story, her like recollection of things, how that all went down, that like major tragedy. You learn a lot about characters. You get attached to everyone, but you also suspect everyone. And I really, really liked that. I liked how emotional you felt. Like you weren't detached and you weren't just like disgusted. Like when you were disgusted, you were also like, you felt so bad for them or something. It was just so complex and I really liked that. So I highly recommend you pick this up this fall for whatever reason. I also have Home Before Dark that I want to read. Don't know what it's about. I like to go into books blind, can you tell? And then House Across the Lake I really want to read as well. And I don't know much about that one either. If you don't like knowing anything about books when you want to go into the blind, this is the place for you because I give no context whatsoever. I can barely tell you about a book that I actually read, let alone a book that I haven't read and I want to read. So next we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Are we surprised? I want to be an Alice Feeney girly. I want to see what the hype is about. So I want to read this. I'm also thinking about picking up Daisy Darker, but I'm very open to honestly any of her books. If you recommend any of them, leave them down below. We're just going to say she fits in this category in general. And this just happens to be the one book that I own thus far. Next we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm so excited to start this. It's giving Pretty Little Liars. And I've heard everyone say that they were just so pleasantly surprised at like how quickly it moved and how like drawn in you were to the storyline. So I'm very excited to start this. Lastly, in the spooky vibes, thus far, I'm sure that it's gonna grow, like I need any more to read. But I've had this for a few years. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It follows this character. You follow a guy who goes and relives the same night over and over when Evelyn dies. Except he's body jumping to all the people that were there and he cannot get out of this loop until he figures out who did it. So you're literally getting in people's bodies, like even though it's not them. It's like a very interesting take. Like you just feel like you're like being taken over by like someone else and like you see what they did. I can't remember if he can like control the actions at all or if he's just in the body and the body just like does what it did that night and then they have to solve it. That to me wouldn't make much sense because then it wouldn't be that hard to figure out. Anyway, it sounds great. It sounds really interesting and very unique, so we love that. Next category, we have fantasy that just fits in fall. It belongs there. You don't have to read it in fall, but like it fits for sure. First, we have Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's literally Vampire Hunger Games. I don't need to say anything else. I was so pleasantly surprised by how enthralled I was in the relationships, the romance, the plot. It was fantastic. Next, I have Dance of Thieves. Are you shocked? I don't know how to explain it. It just gave me a little bit of a fall vibe. You can definitely read this whenever the heck you want to, but I think because I just finished this a couple days ago, that's why I wanted it in this pile, but I highly recommend this book. I understand hype, I really do. I can't wait to read the second one, and I want the special edition. And yeah, I wish these characters were real. I loved it. I was so pleasantly surprised, and the way that the romantasy unraveled, I would say, was very original. Like, I was not expecting it to happen the way that it did, and at first I didn't know if I liked it, and then I realized that I did. Yeah. Next I have Throne of Glass. I think this would be a perfect bridge into winter, because I think this is a great winter series, because the seasonal depression be hitting hard and you just really need to escape real life, because real life starts to suck a little bit after Christmas. And Throne of Glass just gives vibes. It really does. And it can just get you into that high fantasy, just like you don't have a care in the world. You're just so sucked into the story and the characters, and you never want to leave their side. If you want to be emotionally wrecked in every way, like very good ways, this is for you. Next I have Stalking Jack the Ripper. This is, what is it called? It's a series. They're up there. They're Stalking Jack the Ripper, Hunting for Prince Dracula, Escaping from Houdini, and Capturing the Devil. And I want to say that that's all of them, but I highly recommend this. It's literally set, I don't even know. It's literally just this girl who is a great female main character. She's just kind of your basic FMC in a fantasy novel. Like, she's very independent, and she like wants things that like most girls don't. She, you know, like goes against the grain kind of thing. But she's literally trying to find who Jack the Ripper is, who's doing all of these murders in London. It's pretty cool. And the other ones are super good and obviously follow their own themes. Next we have Caraval. I just think that this series is so vibey. This series got me back into reading. I'm finishing the reread of the series currently before I get into Once Upon a Broken Heart. I honestly, if you've heard about Once Upon a Broken Heart, I recommend reading this first, because the main character in that book is introduced in these, and I think it's just super important to the character. I think it'd be really cool. And it's just like, it's giving like a circus, like a traveling circus, but the magic is so real and you don't know what's real and what's not, to the point that it's almost like giving a thriller, because you're like, what is happening? The twists in this were crazy. Like, if you took a YA fantasy novel and like put it, like mixed it in with an actual thriller, it honestly kind of gives this, which is so strange to like think about. But I just highly recommend, just look up the aesthetic on TikTok. It's vibes. For the vibes, you should do it. Next I have Kingdom of the Wicked. This is the same author as Stalking Jack the Ripper, and I really love this series. I haven't finished it yet. It's like still in the second one or something. Thank you, nursing school. And this, it gives off like Greek god vibes. I don't even know how to explain it. Just like immortals playing with humans kind of thing. That's actually how Caraval is as well. So if that interests you, like the whole immortality thing, like they're gods kind of, mixed with like a like crime solving adventure, this is for you too. The vibes though, I promise the vibes are worth it. It's giving very witchy and dark, and yeah. Next I have House of Salt and Sorrows. This is a take on the 12 this is a take on the 12 Dancing Princesses, but it's super dark. There's death, there's paranormal activity. So if that sounds intriguing to you, to like mix a fairy tale retelling and that, I highly recommend. I thought it was great. It was definitely dark. So if you just want those really eerie, spooky vibes, this is it. Next I have Prison Healer. Again, I think it's just because I just read this book, but I think it is a really good fantasy to read this fall. Yeah, I really, it's about a healer that's in a prison. The ending's worth it though, okay? The ending's crazy, and I won't tell you a single thing about it. All that I can tell you is that you should read it. Next, I have A Darker Shade of Magic, because hello, like the cover says it all. There's dark magic, or sorry, there's like a world with magic and a world without. It's giving vibes though. I also have The Zodiac Academy. What more could you want? Literally every like made up creature ever, werewolves, vampires, like witches, all of it, and then throw in zodiac signs as well, and sprinkle some Harry Potter in there, and you get Zodiac Academy. And I haven't started it yet, and my friend is gonna kill me because she wants me to start it so badly. So it's happening. Let's do it together. Let's pull the trigger and read the like 1,000 freaking books. Next, I have All of Us Villains. This is literally like all of these families live in this village together, and they've been fighting for magic every like 100 years. There's a competition. They basically sacrifice their children like the Hunger Games. They have to go magically compete with each other to get their family the magic for the next however many years. Yeah. Our last category is Dark Academia, because chef's kiss, we love Dark Academia. So first of all, we have the Atlas 6. Are you surprised? Literally like a secret society kind of thing where they're just honing their magic and they're kind of competing with each other to like have a winner, if that makes sense. The characters in this are so amazing. The way they interact is so like unique. The writing is beautiful. I love the art in these. This is like the originals. I think the newer one has different art, but I highly recommend. Kind of like giving the same vibes is Ninth House. I've heard this is very cultish, so if that sounds good to you, like a secret society cult, that's all I know, and we'll figure it out. Next, I have If We Were Villains. Need I say more? It's been so talked about. I never got to it last year. It's basically Shakespeare. These people put on a play. Somebody gets killed, I'm pretty sure, and they're figuring that out. But the Shakespeare references and just the vibes are crazy. And lastly, I have Vicious. These two guys like stumble upon magic and figure that out, but it's giving very dark academia vibes. That wraps up my ultimate fall reading guide. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what books you're excited for this fall down below. And like and subscribe and put on the notifications. I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so excited for all these fall books. So excited. I'll see you guys next time.